Okay, interview related. What questions they may ask you in the interview about the new asset accounting? Remember, the first question they may ask you, what are the changes between ECC and S4HANA, S4HANA in asset accounting, in asset accounting. Okay, so in the asset accounting, what changes S4HANA has come up? Okay, I have already explained in detail the changes. You may explain each depreciation. Okay, all the depreciation areas are the real time postings in S4HANA. Point number one. Then point number two would be a all the each and every depreciation area must be assigned to the accounting principle and as well as ledger. Okay, then at the same time, then if there is any for each and every depreciation area, okay, if you want to create any new depreciation area, then you must have to assign the separate currency for that one. Remember. Okay, now the next one is that they have introduced a concept to call it as a technical clearing account. Okay, so in that technical clearing account, okay, one you can explain the all the depreciation areas are all the depreciation areas are real time postings. I have already explained. Okay, now the second one is that now depreciation each depreciation area must be assigned to accounting principle. Accounting principle and ledger. Then each depreciation area okay, if we want to create, I'll mention like this. If we want to create a new depreciation area, we must have to assign separate currency. You must have to assign assign if you feel that. Okay, if you feel that if you want to this depreciation area for some particular requirement purpose, then you must have to assign the separate currency. Separate currency. Then technical clearing account. Technical clearing account configuration. Remember, the technical clearing account is a balance sheet account. Okay, then when we are going to the technical clearing account will come into picture when only the asset acquisition will happen. Okay, so the asset acquisition will happen. The entries will be divided into the two parts. One is the operational part, another one is a valuation part. Okay, so you need to explain. Okay, the I have already explained in detailed explanation. Okay, so about the technical clearing account, you need to explain that operational part, operational accounting entry, then the valuation accounting entry. You must have to explain these two things. Okay, otherwise they will not accept. Remember. Then what else? Then the depreciation area, depreciation postings, depreciation posting options has been changed. So what options has been changed here? When I say the options, there were in ECC 4 options. What are the 4 options? Unplanned, planned posting run, planned posting run, unplanned posting run, repeat run, then restart. Restart. So these are the 4 options were there in ECC. But now these options has been completely removed from S4HANA. Then the next one is that depreciation document types for depreciation postings. Then now let me go back here. Okay, in S4 HANA, let us assume I have the 1,000 assets. For all 1,000 assets, okay, for when I run the cycle depreciation cycle, only one document I was able to post for all assets related depreciation calculation. But now in S4 HANA, for each and every asset, asset depreciation postings, we can map separate document types. Okay, earlier this was not there, now we can able to map this functionality. Okay, now now we have, apart from this, okay, the postings, in terms of postings perspective, the smoothing option which has been removed. Okay, then as well as at the same time, okay, the tables, what are all the tables has been removed from S4 HANA. We have already seen AN, okay, those are all the tables. But now those tables relevant data which will be posted to the ACDOCA, then if you want to get the or see the data in those tables, so the existing tables, those tables were converted into the compatibility view. You can still access those tables and you can see them. Okay, but now there are some transaction codes which were absoluted from S4 HANA also. Okay, so the now to change the physical year, earlier we were using some other AJRW, some transaction code we were using, that is not available. That is not available for physical year changes, the transaction codes and all. So in the document it is clearly it is there. I will place the document in the drive, you can access from there. Okay, so now this is the way what you need to prepare for your interview perspective. Okay, so the most of the queries will come from the interview. They may ask you these questions. Now it's a one two. Okay, one by one I'll put it here. 4 5. Most are the questions. Okay, most are the questions they may ask you. Okay, now if you prepare 6 questions, then out of the 6 of S4 HANA, the point number 1 is that cost elements, all the cost elements were moved to the GL accounts. That is the reason. Okay, the controlling I will mention here is that is the important thing, very important one. 12th April 23. So controlling changes in S4 HANA. Now, the point number 1 is the cost elements. All cost elements are now GL accounts. All primary, I'll mention primary and secondary. Secondary cost elements are now are part of, okay, are part of GL accounts. Okay, now you can see here, whenever we are creating any GL account. Okay, first let me go to the path as easy access. Okay, I'll do one thing also, because I have already explained, but now once again let me open the ECC system so that it will have the clear visibility for us. Okay, fine. taking this much time. Start. Okay, now it has been appeared. Let it open this one. Okay, let it start. Now in S4 HANA, what we were doing here, if I want to create any cost elements, okay, accounting, primary cost controlling, cost element accounting, master data, cost elements, okay, individual processing. Okay, now you can see here in S4 HANA, there are in ECC, the transaction codes were differ. Now all my cost elements, it's a part of my GL accounts. Now you can see here. Now the transaction code is a FS00. What we can see here. Okay, why they have? Why, I mean, what is the reason? Now whenever I'm creating any GL account, okay, now let me go here. The FS00. When I'm creating any GL account here, I will choose any. Okay, I will choose the liabilities or revenues. Sorry, expenses. Let me choose this one. Expenses. Okay, now you can see here under control data, this option was not there. The cost elements. Now what we were doing in ECC 6.0, if I want to create any cost element, what we were doing, we were just going back, we were creating the separate, okay, through the, let me open this one. Now okay, now accounting, financial controlling, cost element accounting, master data, cost elements, individual processing. You can see here KA01 was the transaction code if I want to create any primary cost element. Let me double click here. This is the one way, okay, the way which I can go here and I can create the primary cost element. Then this is the option number one. Or else what we were doing, FS00. Let I will take the same example. Salaries related. Then if I want to create any cost element here, click on edit cost element option. Then we were able to create again. This was one of the additional activity what we need to perform in ECC 6.0. We need to give the description, what element category we need to, that the cost element is relevant. Then in S4 HANA, can decide that we can specify what is the cost element category of this GL account. Okay, no need to go back, no need to, okay, spend additional efforts to create the cost element. Here itself we can do this one. So if I want to create any primary cost element, the prerequisite is that I must and should have the GL account. Then with reference to the GL account, I can able to create the primary cost element. Now this GL already created, I'm just assigning the cost element category here. So now the element cost element, this GL, it's a part of my cost element also. Now this cost element is this GL account is a cost element. Now for secondary cost elements. Okay, this the similar way we need to follow for the all my primary cost elements for expenses and revenues purpose when I am creating. Okay, when I am creating expenses and revenues, I need to follow the similar process. Then what about the secondary cost elements? For the secondary cost elements, if you remember, I have created a separate account group. Let me go to the OBD4. So when I have created the GL account groups here, see now for secondary cost elements, I have created a separate number ranges and separate group here. But now how can I create the secondary cost element? Because now this GL accounts expenses and revenues are part of primary cost elements. Now for secondary cost elements, whenever I'm creating, let me create one secondary cost element. What is the series? This is the series. Let me use this one. A005. So now go to description. Whenever you are creating, now you need to select the, okay, you need to select the secondary costs. This is a mandatory to select the GL account type. Then secondary cost elements, you need to choose these two things are mandatory. Okay, now you can enter the description, then come to the control data. Again you need to enter the secondary cost element categories. Now you can see 21 to, okay, 66. Okay, how system will know, okay, what is the differentiation? Now the moment if you select these secondary cost elements, then only the cost element categories are appearing. Now if you choose primary costs and revenues, the cost element categories will be differ. Just go back and see here. See here, 1, 3, 4, 11, 12 and 22, these are displaying here. Okay, but now these cost element categories are the part of primary cost element. Okay, remember, just I'm just going back, select this secondary cost element. Okay, then allocation, allocation cost. I'll just put it as the allocation. Can come here. Okay, internal order or allocation. Okay, let me select for the assessment or distribution internal settlement. I will just choose this one. Then G001. Save it. Now see, now the data has been saved. So now secondary cost element also I have created. This is the one of the change what SAP has introduced. Okay, in S4 HANA, all my primary and secondary cost elements are part of now GL accounts. Point number one. Then remember second thing is that, okay, now no, okay, and the transaction codes KA01. Okay, let me go back here. Now we can see KA01, KA06. Okay, all this where has been removed. KA01 to KA05, KA01 to KA05, KA06. Okay, I'll put it this one. The transaction code from, I'll just put it as a from KA01 to KA06 has been removed from S4 HANA. Okay, now if you enter the KA01 also, what system will say /n KA01. See, now it is redirecting to the your GL account FS00 only. Okay, it's a, simply it is a redirecting to here itself. Remember. Then the next one is that the cancellation has been removed. Now CO to FI reconciliation. When I say to the CO to FI reconciliation, okay, there was a concept to call it as a, okay, CO to FI reconciliation. That concept has been completely removed. Okay, where this CO to FI reconciliation was come into picture. Okay, now let us assume I have a two company codes, A001, then A002. I have a two company codes here. Okay, company codes, two company codes. Then A001, A002. Now I have the profit center, profit center. Profit center is a PC1. Let us assume PC01. I have the profit center PC01. Then the PC0, okay, PC01, I'll put it here is a PC01. When I say the profit center, which is relevant for the EA001, okay, company code. Now, after posting the documents, okay, in CO, okay, now in CO, in controlling, okay, in controlling, thus, what will happen? The internal transfer or internal allocation, the internal transfer, okay, has been done to company code to A002. Okay, instead of A, see that I mean the transaction which should it should supposed to post to the A001 company code, but now instead of that one, okay, what is happened? Some portion of the amount we have allocated to A002 company code also, because when we transfer the financial info, I mean the data or some financial values to this company code, what will happen? The system will create one FI document. Then what will happen? Because that is a financial impact, because the source is this company code, this from this profit center to, then it has been posted to this company code. In this situation, we would require is a reconciliation, CO to FI reconciliation. Then what is the source, the document which will appear into this company code? For that purpose, we were able to do some configuration for CO to FI reconciliation. Now this concept also completely has been removed, okay, in S4 HANA system. Then the next one is that planning. Planning concept has been removed. Now it is part of, now it is part of, now the planning, okay, now the planning removed, okay, I'll mention removed from S4 HANA, and planning is part of IBP. IBP system. IBP is a integrated business planning. That is a separate system where we can able to see that one. Okay, with that is a separate system. We would require is a separate consultant. The IBP will have the separate consultants. Then they will work on that one. The IBP integrated business planning. Now there are few changes. Then the next one is that material ledger is a mandatory. So for earlier in ECC 6.0, okay, when I want to perform some business transactions which are relevant for material management, okay, now the material ledger concept was not in ECC 6.0, it was not mandatory. But now in S4 HANA by default, okay, we must have to activate the, okay, material ledger concept. Without material ledger, we cannot do any postings in integration as well as the, okay, and FI integrations. Remember. Then okay, now So how to activate the material ledger? Okay, I will show you that one. By default, the material ledger concept. Then apart from this, there are few changes in the product costing. There are few changes in the, okay, then I'll put it one more thing also. Now in okay, now if you remember COPA, controlling profitability analysis, the report which will be relevant only for the sales and distribution module. Okay. Now the COPA is now earlier in ECC 6.0 we were able to see, okay, CO COPA and as well as accounts COPA. Now in S4 HANA, remember in S4 HANA we have only the accounts COPA or finance. Okay, let me go here. So CO COPA and FI COPA was there. Okay, now in S4 HANA, only the FI COPA we must have to active. We must have to. This is the default FI COPA. Okay, the reason being that now all the your primary cost elements and secondary cost elements are, it's a part of GL accounts. So now FI COPA we must have to use the FI COPA. Then there are splitting. Okay, in COGS, okay, in and FI integration, sorry, in SD integration, in SD integration with FI, there is a concept, there is a concept called cost splitting. This is the one new concept, okay, what they have introduced. When I say the cost splitting, okay, let us assume now I have the different costs which I am spending, okay, for sales activity. Now I want to split that costs, okay, individually also. Then they have come up with this concept. Okay, this I will explain you tomorrow bit more. Then then apart from this, in product costing, there are some changes. Okay, we will see that one. Okay, the what kind of changes the SAP S4 HANA has introduced with the, okay, in order cost splitting, then the product costing. Okay, now COPA also I will explain you, okay, bit more. Then but reporting perspective, it will be the same. There are no changes. There are no changes in terms of reporting perspective. Just remember that one. Okay, so these are the most questions which may come into the from the controlling perspective. I mean the changes. Okay, questions may be differ, but now the changes. What are the changes which has come up with S4 HANA? Remember, these are the important